What is really, really good? It's your boy, Aaron Bevins, a millennial entrepreneur with the kid, the man, the myth, the legend, one of my favorite people who is a regular on these lives because you guys keep begging for him to come back, the one and only Ryan Wilkerson. How are you doing, my guy?
What's up, my guy? I'm pumped to be back with you, man.
The South Carolina Charleston myth in our presence, the Phoenix, the poster child, everybody's favorite wholesaler slash real estate agent slash investor slash entrepreneur, is here to drop massive nuggets. And I think one of the reasons, Ryan, that people love you so much and are just excited to be in your presence whenever you come on these shows with me is because it's never fluff with you, dude. It's like you're an incredibly busy person. So if you're going to take time to do something, you always do it right. And you always leave us with instructional value that people are always raving in my DMs afterwards. So I really want to give you your flowers now, bro. And just praise and honor, because I always learn things from you, even things that I go on and utilize in the community to help other people. But with that said, let's go ahead and go over or talk about what we're going to be going over today, which I'm really, really excited about. And that is the secret sauce to 7 figures wholesaling real estate. And the reason why we call it the secret sauce is not because it's secret at all, but it's because most people are not talking about it, y'all. And that is data. Now, a lot of you already might feel like, this is not exciting. This is not the fun stuff. But these are the components that high level players are looking at so that their efforts will go a longer way. That's called leverage, right? If you're looking at the data, then you can make sure that every call that's being done, every IPA that's being done is going to go further because you're setting yourself up for success. So we're going to talk about different data points to be looking at in your business. Ryan's going to be taking the lead in this conversation, and you guys get to be a fly on the wall. And we're going to give you thousands of dollars worth of game here in the next few minutes. Right after this intro, we're going to hop right in. No fluff, just facts. Let's get it.
We made it, that's facts, ayy. We the greatest, that's facts, ayy. Prices raising, that's facts, ayy. That's right. But we paid it, that's facts, ayy. I did. They hate it, that's facts, ayy. Cause we changing, that's facts, ayy. We did. Can't blame them, that's facts, ayy. Cause we made it, that's facts, ayy. Cherry on top, that's a goat, yeah. Where you been, I wanna know, yeah. Greatest story ever told, yeah. Greatest story ever told, yeah. I know you wanna look up for this. Baby, let me turn you up a bit. You said you made it through hell and back. Give me the school, baby, tell the facts. Don't be shy.
I love it. Big vibe. So Ryan, you said that you had something that you wanted to share really quick.
Bro, so we're doing the 90-day challenge in the accelerated wealth community, right? Like you and Joey are going live every day. And so I don't always get a chance. Like I try to jump in there when I can throughout the day, but usually at night, I have 3 kids. I've talked about that like many times when we've talked live, but I do my son's bedtime, right? Like my wife takes care of our girls and I sit with my son, and we're usually just hanging out. He's like reading books and playing in his room. And like this past week, I have been watching the lives in replay, right? And so this morning I had to take him to the dentist. So I'm like, before you go to the dentist, get up there and like brush your teeth like really well. And I hear him, I'm like standing in the stairs waiting for him to go. And I hear him brushing his teeth going, we made it, that's facts. Hey, dude, singing the Aaron Bevins theme song in his bathroom this morning, bro. So you were like infiltrating my entire house.
Yo, that is so dope.
Dude, it's a bop. It's a bop. You gotta listen to it.
You know what makes me so happy about that too? Like, I know it might sound corny, but like the fact that it's an inspirational message too, like also like, hey, we made it, that's facts. Hey.
Dude, he's 6.
Yo, I love that so much, dude. You literally just made my day right now. So with that said, Ryan, this is something that I know that is going to get a lot of replays. So with that said, guys, put hashtag replay if you're on the replay, if you're part of the replay squad, and if you're live, engage with us, share this out, because these are components of business that can help you really scale and take this to the next level. So where do we start whenever it comes to data? Because I think some people, when they hear data in wholesaling, they might be thinking about skip tracing and leads and all that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about operating a business from a high level strategic standpoint. So what does that look like, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is like something that's very, very overlooked by most people that are in the wholesaling space. And frankly, I don't think that it's anything that's like regularly talked about in our space, right? It's usually the more elementary data, right? What lists to call, how to skip trace, what's the script, how to run comps, like that kind of stuff. But if you really want to give yourself an advantage, like learning how to interpret market data to find areas of opportunity that you can exploit is what can give you the edge, because we're all talking about calling the same lists, right? So how do I find the seller that when my acquisitions team shows up for a meeting with them, they don't have a stack of mailers on their kitchen island from 50 other wholesalers, right? And I think what most people utilize to interpret data is like, what are all the gurus talking about right now? Or what's the most pressing news headline that's going around right now? And you just take that as gospel. And what that's doing is that's being reactionary to the market. That's not trying to get ahead of the market. And the best example that I'll always use is like, right now wholesaling is like on fire, right? Like you see so many new people popping up with coaching programs every single day. Like it is the it thing in real estate at the moment. Just like 4 or 5 years ago, multifamily syndications was the it thing of the moment. And the thing that I think most people need to understand is like the people that are teaching that stuff at that level, they're like the smart money. They're already exited from their multifamily syndications. They're selling them to people like you who are just now getting in, right? It's going to be a harder hill for you to climb. And so my thought with this format today was like, if you're thinking about getting into wholesaling, or more importantly, if you're active in wholesaling right now, like how do you become the smart money? And the smart money keeps their finger on the pulse of the market at all times. So they can be active instead of reactive, right? And I think that the problem with that is like most people learn the lingo of wholesaling from the standpoint of being able to articulate it to a seller, but they don't learn the high level lingo about what really moves the needle in the market, and knowing where the market's going in the next 3 to 5 years and the ripple effect that could potentially have on their business. So I hope to shed a little bit of light on that today.
Man, that's powerful. And when you think about it, everybody who is wholesaling or real estate investing, this is relevant for you because we're professionals. We're not hobbyists. So we should know what's happening nationwide. We should know we should have a pulse on numbers and metrics at a macro level that are going to impact our business. Otherwise, guess what? We're going to be impacted, and we're not going to have and that's without us being prepared. So let's take our first item that we're going to be talking about in terms of data. And I think you said we're going to be looking at an overview of the housing market over the United States and where we stand right now. Is that right, Ryan?
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you like I'm just going to ask you some questions to like spit out some like real-time percentages.
Okay.
To kind of tell you like what's really going on. Okay. And then how I look at that data and interpret it to make decisions in my business, right? So
all right.
Everyone knows that the market's been wild the last 3 years, right? 2020 to 2022, those COVID unicorn years when rates were historically low, would set us off on this crazy, unsustainable trajectory. Now rates have increased substantially over the past year. And that has a whole nother host of issues. So like, how do we find opportunities in those markets? And so here's a couple questions I'll ask you, right? Of all homeowners in the country that have mortgages on their properties, what is the percentage that you think of current homeowners that have an interest rate below 5%?
All right, say that one more time.
Okay. All homeowners in the country that have mortgages. What is the percentage of those homeowners that have a rate below 5%?
Out of all homeowners in the country, what is the percentage of homeowners right now in the country who have an interest rate below 5%?
Yep.
That's interesting. I mean, do you want me to guess? Because I don't
Yeah,
have access to. Yeah.
Yes.
What would you say? Out of all the mortgage owners, in the United States, what percentage of them do you think right now has an interest rate below 5%? Less than 25%? I don't what?
84%.
Whoa, 84%.
84%. Okay.
84%. Okay.
So that's a 5%.
That means people. Lots of people were refinancing during that time, and yeah, they
Yep.
were cleaning up.
Yep. What's the percentage of people that have an interest rate below 4%?
Below 4%. 70%.
Close. 63.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so why that metric's really important,
Yeah.
right, is that right now today, the average 30-year fixed interest rate in this country is like 6.896%.
Okay.
Okay. So it is the difference between a 4% rate and almost a 7% rate cuts affordability significantly.
Yeah.
Right. Which kind of leads me into my next data point, because these two are correlated, right?
Yeah.
Between July of 2016 and January of 2020, what do you think the average number of homes that are actively listed in the country, like at any, like on a 6-month period between January 2016 and January 2020, that 4-year period, like how many homes in a given year do you think actively come on the market and list for sale?
Within a 12-month period?
Yeah. On an average annual year.
8 million, 10 million?
Close. It's 1.2 million.
Okay. 1.2 million.
1.2 million. Okay. So it's 1.2 million. Then COVID hits. Everything goes crazy. Today, nationally, how many listings do you think are available for sale? All 50 states.
1.5 million?
613,000.
Holy smokes, bro.
Okay. So here's why those two things are important to know, of like the reason that
So that's a seller's market, right?
Dude, crazy seller's market, right? Crazy seller's market. So your inventory has been cut in half because interest rates have essentially doubled. Right. So what that means is that you can look into that data and make a determination as to like, why are we so low in inventory? And it's because people are not willing to trade in a sub 4% interest rate for a 7% rate. They're staying put. Right. They're staying put. So to your point, supply and demand, right? Supply and demand. There is very, very little supply in our market.
Okay.
For us to get back to that national average of 1.2 million, one of two things needs to happen.
Okay.
Interest rates need to drop closer to that 5% mark, where the majority of homeowners in this country who have mortgage have rates.
Okay.
So they're trading for same.
Yep.
Or we need to make up inventory. Okay. And like, who makes up inventory? It's builders.
Yep.
Right. It's new construction and builders.
Yep.
But builders have been severely limited in catching up in inventory because of supply chain, labor, and material costs. So right now in this country, we are at a 7-year inventory gap just to get us back to a neutral market. Okay. And so the reason that I'm giving this like very detailed explanation is for people to understand that until rates need to come down to get more inventory in the market.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But supply and demand will not reach like a neutral equilibrium until rates come down to a certain point where people feel comfortable trading out and builders can catch up. And you are 7 years away from that happening. So you are going to be in a seller's market for the next 5 to 7 years.
Wow.
which means a couple of things, right? And people talk about this all the time: buyer's market, seller's market, right? But people never talk about the metric that can be tracked to make that determination in real time, like how much of a seller's market are we in?
Okay.
And that metric is called the absorption rate. The absorption rate. The absorption rate says if every home that is currently listed for sale is on the market and no other new homes come on the market to list for sale, how many months would it take for all existing inventory to sell? Okay. So 1 to 4 months. If it would take between 1 and 4 months for all that inventory to sell, you're in a seller's market.
1 to 4 months worth of inventory is a seller's market. Okay.
Okay. 5 to 6 months for all that inventory to sell is a neutral market. And a neutral market just means no one side has an advantage in the negotiation, right? Both sides have to give a little.
concede. Both are going to have to concede to make a deal.
Concede. 6 months plus is a buyer's market where there's way more inventory than buyers who want to buy it.
Sure.
Okay. And so nationally right now, right? Actually, I'll just do Charleston right now because I'll do my market to make it more realistic.
Right? I want to know national after this though, because I'm excited.
I will let you know the national average. So in my market in Charleston, we are at 1.3 months of inventory.
Whoa, holy smokes, my guy.
Dude, in January of last year, we were at 0.3 months. So every property in our market would be
healthy,
gone no, dude. Absolutely not. It's the most unhealthy, right? So I'll do this. National months of housing supply.
While he's looking this up, guys, I really hope that you're taking notes on this. These are industry-wide insights that if you understand what's happening at a macro level, then you understand why your assignment fees are what they are, why your hard money is operating the way it is in your local market, why the buyers are buying at where they are in their local market, because these things have an impact on our business. So be a professional and understand that data is a part of one of the major components to running a 7-figure, multiple 6-figure wholesaling operation. But
so blended average year to date, January to August, blended average nationally. We're at 2.6 months of inventory.
Yo, let me say this out loud, because if I say it, then I'll memorize it. So you're telling me the absorption rate, which will tell us whether or not we're in a seller's market, neutral market, or the absorption rate is the metric that determines if we're in a seller's market, neutral market, or buyer's market. 4 months of inventory or less is a seller's market. Between 5 and 7 months is a neutral market. Anything above that, 5 months. Wait, I'm sorry. 7 months or more is
6 months or more.
6 months or more is a buyer's market. Right now, national blended average, we have about 2 months of inventory on the market.
About 2.5 months.
So right now, I know that somebody right now is listening to this and their mind is just like glitching because they're like, wait a minute, doesn't supply and demand dictate that if demand is so powerful and we're in such a high seller's market, why is inflation not skyrocketing right now? Why are we not seeing insane amounts of inventory being flying off the shelf? Like, why does it still feel like we're in a so-so market right now?
Yeah, so great question, right? So if you just look at that data in that context of inventory, right, and months of supply, yes, technically speaking, every home that's on the market should still be in a crazy bidding war, and sellers should still be getting everything that they want and buyers getting nothing.
Facts.
Right? But interest rates have leveled that playing field. So you can no longer just look at that sole metric to make the determination in terms of what type of market we're in, because buyers have now said enough is enough, right? Like, we cannot afford to buy your house, even though the demand should be there, right? Like, we just can't afford it, right? The average mortgage payment going from like 3% to 7% can be like $500 to $600 more per month.
Whoa.
For the average buyer.
That's crazy.
Here's how I use this particular metric in my business, right? I can look at the absorption rate all the way down to the neighborhood level in the specific counties that I market. So most people in our industry determine the area they're going to market to by like how many cash buyers
Yeah,
are in this area, right?
Yeah.
I look at as which markets, which neighborhoods have the lowest absorption rate in my market, because that tells me how much demand is there for that particular neighborhood, right? So when I'm running my my niche lists, my criteria lists, I'm also stacking that list for those particular neighborhoods that are in the highest demand in the areas that I market to. Because I know if
Okay,
those
gotcha. I just
areas,
didn't know what you meant when you said lowest absorption rate. Do you mean okay, so highest demand,
the highest
lowest?
demand, right?
Yeah.
So if the absorption rate in a neighborhood is 0.2 weeks, right? And the average in my area is 1.3 months. I know that that's how I can easily identify the hottest neighborhoods.
Got it. Got it.
Right?
Okay, I'm following.
Okay. So that's where we market, right? Like we use that to determine where are the hottest areas. And then we can start looking at, like on a map, where are these neighborhoods? And then kind of place pins on them. Like we have our VA, like our marketing VA, take these reports and place pins for us and show us like in tiers, like this is the hottest market because it's the lowest weeks of inventory. Okay. John, the day trader, I'm pulling the absorption rate from the MLS from Market Monitor, which is an MLS tool that I have access to as an agent. Okay. Then we're looking at, okay, where's the market that's like under a month? Okay. And this will start showing us like, ooh, there's a couple of these pockets like right up here. And that's kind of showing me the path of progress of I can't get into this super hot neighborhood, so I'm going into this neighborhood, right? And I'm marketing to everything in between because I know at some point in time, right, these areas are going to gentrify and kind of lump in together. That's kind of how that works over time. So we look at the absorption rate. Number one. Here's the next question, couple questions for you to determine the list that I'm using that has been hitting at like 6 to 7 deals a month for the last 90 days. What percentage of owner-occupied homes do you think in the country are free and clear of a mortgage?
Okay, what percent of owner-occupied homes are free and clear of a mortgage? 40%.
Damn, that's close. 42%.
Though I honestly did not know.
Dude, just so you know, historical average at any given point in time, people that own their home free and clear in this country hovers between 15 and 20%.
Whoa.
Okay.
Wow.
So we have 42% of all households in the country. This isn't anything to do with active listings. This is total households. 42% of them own their house for cash. Whoa. So if you own your house for cash, do you think you care about what's going on with interest rates?
No, because you have no mortgage, so there's nothing to exchange. You're not in that game anymore.
You're not in that game anymore. And so the people that have cash that own their homes free and clear, typically okay, I'm going to the next one. All right. Okay. What is the average length of home ownership in the US right now?
10?
10 and a half.
Okay.
10 and a half is the average ownership length. That is the highest in history, in recorded history. Whoa. That is the longest span of time that people stay in their homes. Okay. Wow. So the average, so people know, first-time home buyer products, that's condos, townhouses, and properties that are under like 1,500 square feet. That's like your first-time home buyer classification. Historically, they stay in those homes for 3 to 5 years. Move-up buyers that sell those first-time homes that move up to like, you know, their brick colonials, right? Stay there between 5 and 7. Okay. Now we're at a blended average of all those products of 10 and a half years, which means people are staying put. But what that also means is the longer these people stay in these homes free and clear, they get the advantage of all this appreciation that has been
Whoa.
happening over the last few years. So these people, when I'm going in and targeting all people that have 100% equity in their house, they're happy to sell because they've ridden this crazy wave, right? Crazy wave. So the average median home price across the US in 2010 was $220,000. Okay. The average right now, as of the end of Q2 2023, is $416,000.
In equity?
Right. Dude, that's appreciation. That is, the median sale price has doubled in the last 10, 11 years. And that's nationally, right? So like you could look at markets like Scottsdale that have shot up 200% in the last 5 years, right? So this is national average. So when you go into a cash buyer, or you go in as a cash buyer to someone that's owned their home for 10 plus years, free and clear, the offer you're giving them, they're like, holy shit, this is like so much money. And it's still so much money that they could go and either buy their next property for cash, or they're going to buy it with so little of a mortgage payment left that a 7% interest rate might correlate to a couple $100 a month in a payment for them. So they don't care nearly as much as everyone else. So now, what is the largest demographic of people that make up free and clear homes from an age perspective?
Baby boomers.
55 plus. Yes, baby boomers, right? So I've now talked about the 42% of people free and clear.
Yep.
78% of that 42% is made up of people 55 plus.
Okay.
And then the average length of home ownership is 10.5 years.
Okay.
Okay. So my mailing list and my marketing list is people that have 60 to 100% equity, 55 years or older, and have a home ownership length of 10 years plus.
Holy smokes. Hold on one second. Let me make a note of this. This is super valuable. So we're talking about 60+% in equity, plus 60 to 100. We're looking at 55 and up in age.
Yep.
We're talking about 10 years or more home ownership.
Yep. And here's one other data point that I add to that list is I use an income range of they make less than $65,000 a year.
So talk to me. So what's the reasoning behind utilizing that metric as well in this filter?
Okay. So let's assume let's assume you have someone that's a homeowner that's 55 plus, their home is paid off, completely paid off. At 55, right? Knowing how long people typically stay in their homes, right? Knowing how long they typically stay in the home, it is very, very unlikely if they're making like $100,000+ a year as a household that they have lived in that house to pay it off over a 30-year period, right? Does that make sense?
I see. So,
right?
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay, so I'm targeting 55 plus and income, because if they're making $65,000 a year, and we know the average homeownership length is 10.5 years, it would be very, very hard for someone making under 65 grand to pay off a 30-year mortgage in half the time, right? So these people have been in this property for far longer.
Okay. Yeah, I'm following.
10.5 year period. Okay.
I'm following.
And so these people will only be able to sell if they can walk away with enough of a nest egg.
Wow.
To buy something where they want to be, and then also use those funds to be comfortable for like the back chapter of their lives, right?
Whoa, this is so dope.
Right? So I add the income range because these people, they look at their house and be like, I bought this house 25 years ago. Let's go back to 1995.
Okay.
Right? That's almost 30 years, right? So for this example, that would work, right? 1995. We just said the current median sale price in the country is 416. We said in 2010 it was 222. In 1995 it was $130,000.
Holy smokes.
Right? Dude, so it has almost risen 4x over that 30-year time frame. Dude, cost of living has not, I mean, it goes up. What do you get bonuses on? Like, I haven't had a real job in 12 years, right? But like,
yeah,
merit increase is supposed to keep up with inflation. You get a 2%, 3% raise year over year.
Yeah.
You get nothing in comparison to what that is.
Inflation is outpacing active income insanely, exponentially at this point.
Dude, if you're not an entrepreneur or a high-level salesperson that is like able to like turn a faucet on with your money, you're not even coming close to keeping up with the cost of living in this country, right? That's a whole nother podcast, right?
Yeah, facts though.
But here's the thing, when we're also targeting this list, if they're making below $65,000 and we're making the assumption that they have owned this property for 20-ish years, what are they also going to start battling with that property? They're going to start battling CapEx.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. All sorts of maintenance and things like
Roofs, windows, HVACs. Dude, I live in the South. Dude, we need commercial HVAC units on our property to keep it cool, right? It's like 15 G's to get an HVAC
foundation,
unit in your house.
Dude. Foundation.
Foundation.
And when the sun heating and expanding the land underneath the foundations.
Dude, I'm on the coast. I'm like 7 feet above sea level. Like the footers on every house here, like those are massive expenses that people cannot incur or pay for. So these houses start falling into disrepair, right? So like that, using that data, I was able to come up with this list and market to this list in a little bit of a different way than most other people would be doing it, right? By adding that income and adding that age. And we have been doing that now at 15,000 mailers a month. We're coming on 90 days and we're averaging like 7 deals a month per mailer from that list alone.
Whoa.
And there are like some other nuances that we're doing to like capitalize on that. We don't do one call closes with those people. We go to them.
Smart.
We go to those folks.
Knee to knee, belly to belly, bro.
They're not tech. They don't trust people over the phone. We're spending, I think if I got my acquisitions guy training here, I think he'd tell you his average time he spends in someone's house with them is like 4 hours.
It makes sense. Your demographic is a baby boomer. These are individuals who still listen to radio. They think a certain way. They have certain philosophies, and they're not gonna. Most of these guys and gals are not going to sign a purchase agreement for their real estate over. Man, the baby boomers. This is like a solid generation of people who they've been through so much. They don't trust easy. Baby boomers have seen crooked presidents. They've seen banks screw people over. They've seen corrections. They've seen recessions. They've seen corporate America turn their backs on employees. I mean, so they don't trust easy. So this is a generation of people where if you send absolutely commendable of you, bro. Like, you're serving your demographic because you know what they need, and they need a knee person who's a professional, who's going to come down and sit down with them and understand their situation and then do the document hard copy right there on the table.
Dude, 100%. And like, we're using this data not only for acquisitions, but we're using it for dispo as well, right? So when we put together a dispo package and we put it in an area where maybe we go on Investor Lift or we go on PropWire or PropStream and we find a cash buyers list, and maybe there's not a ton of cash buyers in this particular area, we are literally putting putting these metrics in like graph form in front of them and showing them, like, look at the inventory levels in this neighborhood. Look at versus the market.
Look at the bars.
Look at the days on market in this neighborhood versus the market. And then we use look at the list to sales price percentage in this neighborhood versus the market. This is the come up neighborhood. And right now, we've talked about this in AW. Like we talked about this last week on our call. Right now, like rural isn't selling.
Facts.
Right? Higher price points aren't selling.
Facts.
Stuff that's 15-ish miles outside of a major city center, not selling. And
Facts.
that's because the only end buyer investors left are the pros, right? Like there might be some schmucks like sprinkled in there and you might get lucky, but like the pros are trying to hedge risk, right? They want to hedge risk. They want to know that location, that adage in real estate is more important now than ever. So us being able to visually show that to them, in addition to the numbers, right? In addition to the calculators and the repair costs and their ROI at our marketed purchase price, like that is getting deals over the hump. And like we will show them that data and we will show them multiple exit strategies that they could utilize on this deal, right? Most savvy investors that do this professionally, they want to know at least 2 exit strategies they're going to take a deal down, right? Like people on our buyer list that are flippers, they also want to see what the rental income is going to be for a long-term, midterm, short-term hold. What does a BRRRR look like on this thing, right? Like we're showing them all those calculators to minimize their risk. And that's ensuring that we're moving a lot more property and keeping our fallout exactly where we want it to be, which we always aim for a really aggressive, like 30% fallout metric.
Let's talk about this really quick. I just want to make note of this. Guys, not only did Ryan just give us a boatload of data, important metrics to look for when creating a list that basically carves out our client avatar so that the individual who has the highest propensity, the greatest odds to want to sell a property at wholesale value, that allows us to contract the deal, get them what they want, be able to take care of our assignment fee, and be able to provide our investor with an opportunity where they can see a return on their investment, and everybody along the way who gets paid. He just gave us the metrics for that. Not only that, but he says we can recycle those metrics and share that also with our buyer, because our buyer they're trying to hedge their bets, man, their investments. So if we can show them that this is a neighborhood with pent up demand, and this is a neighborhood that's performing in this way, those same metrics we can share with our buyer to increase our odds of being able to get this deal sold.
And here's a crazy stat,
insane,
dude, to send out to you, right? Like a lot of people are looking at their ROI. Like they're not necessarily looking at their ROI. They're looking at dollars spent, dollars earned, right? Like money out, money in, the velocity in which they can get that money back. And they might ask me, right? Like when we were doing this early on, we weren't spending $15,000 a month. Maybe we were spending $7,000 a month, $8,000 a month, and we're only getting one deal. Here's the difference. Like, do you care about the number of deals that you're doing, or do you care about the amount of money that's hitting your bank account? Right? And so here's a stat. The deals that we are getting by targeting these low inventory, high demand areas, our average assignment fee, blended average for our company, like we've been working really hard to try to figure out how to get that up. Before we started doing this, it was $18,000, like 18 and some change. Okay. This list, our average assignment fee is just under 36 grand a deal.
Holy smokes, bro.
I just closed one of these on Wednesday. I did a live. I did a live on my Instagram. You can go watch my Instagram, like my live that I put on there. We closed our most recent one. We closed for 51 grand.
Holy smokes, Ryan.
Right?
That's nuts,
like,
bro.
Massive spread. So like if we're talking about efficiencies, right? I want to make the most amount of money that I can on every single assignment fee, but I also need to be very cognizant of ensuring that it is still a win for the homeowner.
Facts. Right? Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Like targeting this list is going to give you the best spread. So
Wow.
I'm saying all of this, right? And so people that are watching on this live, you can go back, you can listen to it, you can send me a DM in my Instagram, right? And I'll help you through it. But you should not take this, what I'm telling you right now, as this should be the end all be all to your marketing strategy, like forevermore, right? So like, let's segue into like where the market is going, right? This is where everything we're talking about right now is like where the market is and how I've looked at the data to take advantage of where the market is. But like, let's talk about where the market's going. Okay. And now the difference between where the market is like we have actual data to substantiate the claims of what I'm telling you right now. Where the market's going is a little bit speculatory, right? We don't have a crystal ball to know that any of this is going to come to fruition. But the best chance you have at ensuring that what we think is going to happen is by analyzing the data, right? And the projections of the numbers and going off of the numbers. There are people that are far, far smarter than me and all of us, right, that are putting this stuff together. And it's not just wholesalers looking at this data, guys. Like, it is the people that run the country that look at this data to make the decisions to determine how are we going to get ourselves out of this like recession-ish economy and jumpstart the economy again. Okay, so like you have to be aware that like the market is always changing. And so, Aaron, you say this analogy a lot, right? It's not the big fish that wins anymore. It's the fast fish, right? Like you've said that numerous times in that analogy. Yep. It's the fast fish, right?
Yep.
And a fast fish keeps their eyes on the data of what's happening and makes moves to test the theories quickly, right? And so we didn't start by just saying, hey, this looks like a really good list that we should be utilizing based on the data. Let's throw 15 grand at it. We do like a bullets then cannonballs strategy, right? We start with 3 grand. Does it get us a deal? Yes. Let's go to 6. Does it get us at least 2? Yes. Let's go to 9. Let's go to 12. Let's go to 15. And like at some point in time, we'll figure out what's our diminishing return on our spend. But right now we're keeping ratcheting that shit up because it keeps pouring in more deals, right? So where the market's going, here's some more questions for you. This is the most depressing stat that I've ever heard, dude. What is I'll get to the depressing stat. What is the largest demographic of person in our country right now?
Largest demographic in terms of race?
Well, like we talked about, like what's the biggest demographic of people that own their house free and clear is baby boomers, right? What's the largest demographic from a population standpoint in the country right now?
The largest demographic in terms of what, like age group?
Yeah. Oh, like
millennials?
Millennials, right?
Yep. Yeah.
73 million millennials in the country. Okay. 30 million of them, 30 million are expected to enter the housing market in the next 3 years.
Holy smokes.
Okay. So this is the depressing stat, right? What is the average median age for a millennial to move out of their parents' house in 2023?
35.
Damn. That you're going to answer my next one. It's 26.
Okay.
26, bro. Can you imagine living at your parents' house? You're 26.
Not me, bro. I mean, I was out by 17, but I do. But 100%, I knew it was going there because I've seen this trend in and amongst millennials. But I'm listening.
Yep. So you would think when they're going to move out at 26 that they're going to move out and they're going to buy a home, right? But that's not what the data is telling us. The average median age right now for a first-time home buyer is 34 years old in the US. It used to be 27.
Whoa.
Okay. And so why does it have to be 34? Right? It has to be 34 because people need to spend more time at their jobs and get promoted more or start their businesses and make significantly more money because their buying power has effectively been cut in half because of how high interest rates are.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I'm following.
here's the next stat. This is like blow your mind, right? So
Okay.
last March 2022, before rates started jumping in April, they were still hovering in the threes last March. 50 million households in the US qualified to purchase, right? They could qualify for a mortgage from a debt to income standpoint. In what is that? 15 months, 18 months. Now 25 million.
Whoa. Whoa.
Right? 25 million can purchase right now.
Wow.
So
cut in half by the interest rate hikes.
By the interest rates doubling. Okay. So we talked about this. Here's why I'm like telling people, if the reason that I wholesale, right? And like everyone does it for different reasons. You might jump in being a one-off wholesaler and you just want to make some extra income every few months, right? I'm a wholesaler because the best real estate transactions, like the big home runs, they all start with the deal, right? They start with the deal. If you can wholesale effectively and you can get deals 40% below market value, right? You have the power to do whatever you want with it, right? You control the transaction. So you can then continue to take this process and get properties well below market. And then you can take advantage of it from an exit standpoint based on what the market is bearing at that point in time, right? So for me, like we're flipping stuff that has big spreads. If it's not a big spread, it's a wholesale. But if that thing can cash flow with a light wholesale lipstick, like I'm holding that property, like I am white knuckling that property for the next 5 years because of these stats. So we just talked about there's 613,000 active listings in the market, right?
Yeah.
The Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, who, they're the largest aggregator of housing data in the country. They're the ones that control all the government-backed loans, FHA, VA, USDA. They are projecting that we are going to see a 1% interest rate decrease year over year from December of 2023 to December of 2024. So that automatically takes you from like 6.8 to 5.8. And then in 2025, year over year, they are expecting another 1% drop, getting you back down sub 5%. So for every 1% interest rate drop that we see, okay, it will bring back 8 million buyers to the market. Okay. So the important thing to understand is just because interest rates drop does not mean that inventory skyrockets. Inventory lags buyer activity. Right?
Okay,
right?
which makes sense. It's
makes
practical.
sense, right?
That's real life stuff.
If you're thinking about selling your house and you see an interest rate drop 1%, you may not be that compelled to list your property. But if your neighbor sells their house for a stupid number, and then another house 3 doors down sells for an even stupider number, you're like, let's get this money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like now it's our time to list.
Yeah.
So 8 million buyers. So if we make some assumptions that inventory is going to stay in this range that it's in, give or take $150,000, $200,000 units over the next 12 months, and interest rates drop 1%, that means there are an additional 11 qualified buyers per active listing in the country.
Dude, that is nuts.
So listen, this is the last one that I'm going to drop on you guys here today. There's 25 to 30 million millennials on deck, right? And an additional 15 million buyers that are currently priced out from interest rates right now, which makes sense. If it's 8 million for every percent down, 15 million people literally sitting on the sidelines waiting for rates to drop.
Waiting.
If inventory stays the same and rates drop 2%, there will be 49 buyers for every active listing in the country.
Okay. So for those of you that don't know what this means is if you thought that you saw and heard of the real estate feeding frenzies, if you thought you had heard about, inflation, wait until the next 2 years and position yourself now. Anyway, I don't want to steal the thunder.
So,
but I mean, dude, I can't sit still. I can't sit still as you're saying these numbers, bro.
Here's why, like right now we're using DSCR loans. If anyone's never heard of that before, right? It's debt service coverage ratio loan. They're not looking at your income. They're not looking at your debt DTI. They're not looking at your credit. They are looking at the cash flow for a property. So DSCR typically wants to see 1.25 as their metric, which means if your mortgage payment is $100, they want to see that you can collect $125 in rent, right? And rates might be at like 8. I think they're at like 8.25 right now. But we're looking at that as long as this thing is breaking even, it's covering debt service, it's covering vacancy and repair subsidies that we set aside. We're going to take this and hold, because what will happen is over the next 2 years, we know definitively if interest rates are going to drop for conventional products, they're going to drop for rental related products, the same 2%. So we're going to go from 8.25 to 6.25, which is going to naturally increase our cash flow on the property. But what is going to happen is when 8 million people jump in a low inventory environment, pricing is going to shoot through the roof. And our equity appreciation will follow, right? Our equity appreciation, the next 2 years, 3 to 3 years, are going to force so much appreciation that we will then be able to do a cash out refinance at 75% of the value of the property, which is going to be substantially more than what we paid for it. We're going to be able to refi down 2% and pull all this equity out and go and buy so many more properties. Right?
Okay, go ahead.
So how we're looking at this, and this is really important. So like when everyone jumps back into that game and they start getting into these bidding wars and pushing pricing to the moon again, here's what's going to happen. Right now, those savvy flippers are looking for the demographics that we talked about, right? They're looking to hedge risk, hot areas. They want to get in and get out because rates are changing so frequently that it's a volatile market. It's not a safe assumption to say, I know where the market's going to be in 4 months when I'm done this major lift rehab. Okay. So right now they're targeting low price ranges, sub 300, wholesale style, right? Targeting that first time home buyer demographic because they know there's so much demand there that if the property looks nice and it's in a good area and it's priced well, it's going to move like that, right? But what's going to happen is when pricing starts going like this, if the median average is 416, dude, like that is not a first time home buyer price point. That's not a first time home buyer price point. So in the next 2 years, I'll give you an example, like, and this is where I live in Charleston in Mount Pleasant. The median right now is $800,000. $800,000. My home that I bought here in June of last year, I'm in like a big PUD, like a cookie cutter vinyl village PUD. The same exact house as mine, same finishes, everything, just sold for 120 grand more than I paid for mine a year ago. and we're in this high rate environment. So what I'm looking at is figuring out is like in 2 years, investors are not going to want these first-time homebuyer products because first-time homebuyers are not going to be able to afford them. Because here's a misconception. People think when rates come down, I can afford it. And that's only true if the median price point stays the same. If rates come down 1%, but pricing increases $100,000 in that neighborhood, it would be more affordable for them to buy today at 7%. Right? So I'm looking at it as like, we are about to become like a renter's society, right? I would guarantee you that you're gonna watch that median age for first-time home buyers go up and up and up for the
Wow.
next 5 years because pricing is going to be so high. So for me, I'm then going to be targeting properties that are that move up buyer criteria. I'm going to be targeting the bigger colonials, that people who take advantage of buying over the last few years in that first time home buyer product are going to have all that appreciation and be willing to move up and sell into. Right? Like that's where the spreads are going to be made because the demand might be there, but if they can't afford it, they're not going to buy it.
This
So
is go ahead. I'm listening.
yeah, that was it.
Dude, I'm just gonna say this is the epitome of thinking 5 steps steps ahead. Guys, I know those of you who come on these lives. By the way, we've had a sustained 75 people live across all platforms on IG, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, the Facebook page, LinkedIn. So and I know it's a certain demographic that watch our stuff, bro, because I always get certain feedback. So and it's usually business owners. It's the ones that are actually trying to run their businesses, and they love these stats because they understand it's not just boring numbers. These are the strategic things, which is what I wanted to comment on, which is anybody who's read the book by Patrick Bet-David called Five Moves Ahead, right? The idea behind it is looking ahead in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, looking at the industry, looking at your team, looking at where you're positioned, looking at areas of leverage, looking at putting together your foundation to be able to execute on whatever your BHAG is, your big, hairy, audacious goal. You need to be thinking a minimum of 5 moves ahead, and it's based on the premise of chess masters. You think 5+ moves ahead. And so if you want to play this game of life, similarly, you need to be thinking 5 moves ahead. And notice how Ryan walked us through all of the steps necessary in order to really take advantage of what's happening in the market on a macro level, and giving us like the tactical things that we should be doing, but also the tactical way we should be building the list, but the strategic way to be building our businesses and what we should be focused on. So Ryan, this has been absolutely insane. You always come and overserve and over deliver, bro. This is why you're quickly becoming a fan favorite. And the retention here has been insane, bro. So we have a few more minutes. How do we close out on this, bro? Like you're
Well, like,
look at what Danny says, by the way. She says the info on these lives is beyond priceless. Like you can't get these gems nowhere else. And listen, you are not exaggerating, Danny, because bro, like this dude is a real professional, guys. He's been at real estate for over a decade. He's only been wholesaling for some time, but the advantage that he has in sitting in the circles that he does and operating the business at a level that he does is he has insights that whenever he comes, it's always instructional, it's always practical, and it's always incredibly valuable. You're just getting so much love from the comment section. Carlos says, yeah, I got to watch this replay. There was a few people that were like, yo, Aaron, don't delete this. Like, please,
dude.
I'm driving right now, but I'm going to go back and write these gems down. Guys, ask questions if you want. We only have a few more minutes here, but Ryan, how do you want to close this thing out, man? Any other thoughts you want to share? Because everybody's loving this.
Thank you for the love, man. I appreciate it. I always said if I was ever given an opportunity to like succeed at the level that has far surpassed what I ever expected in doing this, that I would never gatekeep. And so I'm happy to do it. So what I figured I would do is like the whole topic today was like keeping your finger on the pulse of the market, right? But like, how do you do that if you're not an agent, right? You don't have access to some of the tools that like I might have. And so I figured I would give you guys a couple of resources that like I track and I look at every single day as part of my morning routine. Like when I go to the gym or I go for a run or whatever, like these are the bookmarks that I have, that I look at these news sources every single day, right? Because in the news, you can find a hot topic clickbait headline, and then you can find another headline that completely argues against that headline. So it's really hard to weed through and make a determination like what's real. So these sites that I go to are data-driven sites, right? There's no agenda here. It's just like, this is the data and it's what it's telling us, right? So the first is Mortgage News Daily. Mortgage News Daily. This is going to show you like real-time trends. You can go down to the minute, but like day over day.
Or what is it?
Yeah, mortgagenewsdaily.com. It's going to show you what's going on with interest rates, and there's going to be some like really good valuable data there. Fred, that's the Federal Reserve Economic Data website, like fred.org. If you guys want to get like crazy, my IG is the Ryan Wilkerson. If you want to get crazy data, go to Fred. You can literally find white papers for your specific market that will go back 20, 30, 40 years. And so here's an advantage. What is the worst time and what's the worst economic housing crash in history in the last 70 years was in 2006, right? So like a good barometer for how low a market's going to crash would be to see like what happened in 2006. So when I look at Charleston dropped 8%, right? List to sold price dropped to 92%. So the lowest houses are ever going to trade in my market, unless barring some crazy other shit going on, is 8%. Yep. Yeah, right? That's as bad as it gets here. But you need to know that if you're in a market like Arizona, LA, New York, Vegas, those markets that see 300% swings up and then 200% swings down. So Fred is a great one. It's like census data specifically for housing. Real trends. That's more of a real estate specific website. Yep. This is all.com. Real Trends is a great place to go to you can click on market and it will just tell you what's happening. Right. And it's broken down throughout the country. It's down into city level, state level, national level. There's really, really great insights there. Housing Wire. Now, Housing Wire is a website that you do have to subscribe to on a quarterly basis, but they do have free articles every day. But Housing Wire has a daily podcast. It's 30 minutes every day, just talking about real estate data and what's happening in the market right now and what it means for the future.
Wow.
Right. And then Bloomberg. Bloomberg is like the little machines that every single stockbroker and wealth manager and investment bank uses to see what's happening in the market in real time. They have a daily newsletter that comes out. It's like, here's the 5 biggest things going on in the country and the world as it pertains to the market right now. And here's links to big things that are coming up that are going to have impact, like the CPI report, which is inflation, jobs report, right? Here's the housing data that's going to be coming out and you get to see all of these data, all this data broken down through the lens of like, this is how policymakers are viewing it. And here's the actions they're going to take if the data comes out and hits these particular metrics. So, my big thing, guys, is like, you should treat real estate the same way a financial advisor, treats a client's money. If Aaron came into me as a wealth manager, was like, I got $100 grand to invest. What should I do with it? The first thing I'm going to ask her, like, what are your goals and how risk averse are you? Right. And then we're going to put a plan together to try to get you those returns. But if I was getting how I'm allocating your money off of a bunch of clickbait newsreels and viral TikToks, you wouldn't have a lot of trust in me. Right. So like, I want my people to know like what's happening in the market now. What does that look like in a historical context? And what do we think is going to happen moving forward based on the data that we have right now? And you can make really, really sound, confident business decisions when you don't get emotional and you just make decisions off of data, because it doesn't lie.
Yep. Men lie, women lie, data don't lie.
That's right. Facts.
I am going to repeat these news sources for all of you. I made note of them, as I'm sure that you guys did as well. But for those of you that are driving and on your treadmill right now listening to this, mortgagenewsdaily.com, fred.org, realtrends.com, housingwire.com, and bloomberg.com to get all of the insights that you need in order to see what's happening in our industry at a macro level. And
I'm going to show you guys one more tip. I'm going to pull an Aaron Bevins of how he pulls his phone out on the time on lives all the time, but it's usually a calculator. If you have an iPhone, This is only for people that have iPhones. If you have an Android, I'm not messing with you. You mess up my group chats, right? There is a news app that comes on every iPhone. If you click news, okay, and then down here at the bottom, this little folder that says following, okay, you can scroll down and you will see real estate. This will aggregate every major news article as it pertains to real estate and the market, right? Look at this one. Home prices hit record highs in 60% of the US markets right now, right? Like if you just spent 15 minutes a day reading through the articles from yesterday or the day before, ones that are relevant to you, you will learn so much about the market if you just put in a few minutes.
Big major facts. One of my business mentors said that part of growing to a millionaire, one habit of a millionaire is to take in either in reading or audio form 15 to 30 minutes of insight into your industry a day. Minimum. In order to be a millionaire, 30 minutes reading in your field a day. And Ryan Wilkerson just gave us a boatload of resources that we can be reading on so that we can become professionals. In a year's time, we can become real estate professionals, and our buyers will love us because we'll be able to provide them with lucrative deals. Our sellers will love us because we operate with certainty and we're already building our likability through sales. Our escrow officers will love us because we're sending them deals that have a high contract to close ratio. And all the other vendors and contractors and people who make money when a real estate deal is sold is going to love us because we are becoming real estate professionals. And what is more, our family will love us because we're making lots of money, and our self-image and our self-esteem is going to be super high. We're going to freaking love ourselves because we're hitting and crushing our goals. Ryan, you're a phenom, man. You're a phenom. I love you to death. You always come and overserve. With that said, guys, if you want to follow Ryan, how can they get a hold of you before we wrap up?
Yeah, guys, Instagram's going to be the best way to get me. It's the Ryan Wilkerson. Let me know how I can help.
I love
Appreciate
it.
the love.
I love it. Until next time, guys, it's your boy Aaron Bevins, the millennial entrepreneur, and the one and only Ryan Wilkerson. Let's get it.
We made it, that's facts, ayy. We the greatest, that's facts, ayy. Prices raising, that's facts, ayy. That's right. But we paid it, that's facts, ayy. I did. They hate it, that's facts, ayy. Cause we changing, that's facts, ayy. We did. Can't blame them, that's facts, ayy. Cause we made it, that's facts, ayy. Cherry on top, that's a goat, yeah. Where you been, I wanna know, yeah. Greatest story ever told, yeah. Greatest story ever told, yeah. I know